I'll be calling on our very own CEO, co-founder, Mr. Olusola Amusan. Please give me a round of applause as he comes up. Please keep clapping, keep clapping, keep clapping.
Thank you. Do I use this? Yeah. Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much for coming. I do not take this for granted at all. I want to say thank you to Mr. Philip for coordinating this and making this happen. I think about two to four people, about four people, right? They say there's no 2 to 4 when it comes to people. And that is 2 people or 4 people. So about 4 people came for the Prosper conference last week, and we decided and said, this is something that should go to the broader community. And to be able to get that done within a short while just shows the level of seriousness of the community. And I want to say thank you so much for coming. And my hope is that, by virtue of the snippets we'll get from here, and also maybe, even some coordinated efforts to get the content from the conference to the larger group, we will all be able to gain from this. So like Adiza introduced me, my name is Olusola Amusan. I'm co-founder and CEO here at Vesti. My journey has actually crossed with the Tony Adewedu Foundation and TEF entrepreneurs many, many times. I've advised quite a number of TEF startups or companies, partnered with the TEF, the S Holding, during my time at Microsoft. I was Microsoft Philanthropist lead for Nigeria, Ghana, within the Middle East Africa group. So some of the presentation ceremonies, the annual conferences, I would somehow be part of it. We also did offer software donations in the early days for the Tony Adewedu Foundation, Office 365 for nonprofits, and all those kind of things to support the work that that they're doing. There wasn't so much money to be given because you guys already, the foundation had the money to give. It was that kind of philanthropic organization, and I just from the beginning knew that it was a very, very strategic effort. Strategic effort to identify a section of the entrepreneurial ecosystem that is often overlooked. Everybody thinks that's with tech startup, but there are folks that are transforming coffee, transforming food, making chocolates, transforming servicing at multinationals, furnitures, what other services did I hear? Just across the spectrum, business is very vast. And it's not just about tech, and usually the attention is always on technology startups. So I saw that as a really good initiative that was going to go around the entire spectrum, even though most of us are tech enabled. So we can somehow call ourselves tech businesses, even if we are not building core technology by ourselves. So that is something that I think really attracted me to Tony Adewedu Foundation. Also, I'm a communities guy, so I really like it when people go beyond the first touch and build groups and communities. So I was the curator for the 2017-2018 year for the World Economic Forum Global Shapers Community in Lagos. And I've always seen that community as an avenue for people to launch. We're about 230 million people in the country. So, and the challenges are plenty. So not finding a community that can challenge you, encourage you, give you a launch pad, that you can meet and hear new information, it just increases the level of disadvantage, that we already have in the country. But when you find communities and you're part of it, it becomes a launch pad for something even greater. So what I've been asked to do today is to share my story, share Vesti's story, and also be able to share some tips that can help to take your businesses and your work global. Because that's really what I think is the next step. If you have been doing phenomenal, about, did you say 17 coffee brands, man? Coffee products, 17 coffee products, that's same experience. This to be felt in America, this to be felt in the UK, this to be felt everywhere. It's not just for Nigeria. And the assumption usually is that we have to conquer the whole of Nigeria first before we then go elsewhere. But I'll tell you stories of like Microsoft, right? 40-year-old company. They started expanding to France and other parts of the world, maybe 5 to 10 years into their business. They didn't wait to take over America. They have not even taken over America yet. Because till now, they have competitors like AWS, that's Amazon. They have Google competing with them. They have other, cloud providers, Oracle, And there are many other services they have that are even intersecting with other verticals. Coca-Cola did not take over the US. Coca-Cola is still trying to take over the US. Right? It's still trying to because there's Pepsi. Right? Say again? After 100 years. So the assumption that we have to conquer our country and get all the 230 million people to drink coffee, our coffee, before we then go somewhere else, we definitely, and I'm definitely sure that's not what you're thinking about. I'm just talking generally now. But generally sometimes we look at ourselves and we feel like maybe it's not yet time. But what I found out some years ago is that there is no better time to globalize than now. There's no better time. If we were in church, I would have said, look at your neighbor and say there's no better time. Because those things, they are very powerful. Those are things that reinforce the learning. When you tell somebody there's no better time, there's a chance you'll remember that there's no better time. So, and my own story of there's no better time started sometimes in 2017. So I joined Microsoft in 2014 after graduating from FUTA. I had spent only 1 year, working as a research assistant in the university in an office called First Bank Professorial Chair in Computer Science. So this chair was endowed by First Bank, and he was doing research in cybersecurity, a professor. So I was a cybersecurity research assistant. I'm actually back to that school now to do my doctorate in cybersecurity. So quite interesting, many years later. So, and with the same professor, by the way. It's the same professor that is my supervisor. I just finished year 1. So I joined Microsoft and it was a life-changing opportunity for me. I had, to give you some context, I'd always wanted to be an entrepreneur. My dad, being an entrepreneur, runs a school, and my mom working in the teaching hospital, but she also, was selling things on the side. So I'd always been somebody who wanted to be an entrepreneur. I'd never imagined I was going to work, like be working somewhere. So when I was in secondary school, when people said this is where they work when they grew up, it never was a thing for me. I just knew that I was going to start something, just like my dad is a starter, right? So when I got into university, I started a company called the Olusola company. I formed it in a competition. That's why the name was the Olusola company. I was attending a competition where somebody said I should nominate because I was a speaker on campus and I had written a book called Are You Branded or Stranded, published in 2010. And I was basically asked to nominate 10 people who can attend an international competition called the Global Student Entrepreneurial Awards. And I wrote 9 names and I asked the guy if I could put my name at 10th one. So he said yes, why not? So I came from Akure to Adeniyi Jones here in Lagos, attended the interviews, we're sitting in a room, and they were like, you're going to lead a company, you can't just compete. I was wearing this really nice, I can remember everything I wore that day, a white button-up shirt, I wore a red sweater underneath, and I wore what I thought was a Prada suede jacket. I was wearing a Boss shoe and a brown khaki pants. Never forget, changed my life forever. Of course, you can imagine how hot it would be in Lagos that day, right? And I'm still wearing all that. But it was an AC tight room, and they were asking us questions about our company. So right there, I formed the name of the company, the Olusola company. And when they came into the room, they saw that there were people that were not serious with their life. So they had done like 5-10 interviews. Then they came downstairs. Dr. Olusola, who some of you may know, he was keynote speaker at our conference. So now next year will be 20 years that I met him. So I came downstairs. He came downstairs and said, what are you doing here? We just interview people all along. None of you are serious. You want to compete with students that are making $1.3 million a year while still being students in America, and you don't have a bank account. Some of you don't have an international passport. This competition is going to be abroad. You don't have an international passport. Why are you here? Some of you don't register your business. So say, you know what we're going to do so that we don't waste our time. If you have not registered your business, if you don't have a business registration, please move to this side. If you have a business registration, move to this side. So those that didn't have business registration, they moved to this side, they sent them home. Those of us that didn't have business registration, but we have, so I moved to this side and they said, where's your business registration? I said, processing, sir. Meanwhile, I called my younger brother, who is my co-founder at Vesti today, to go to Osogbo from Ile-Ife and go and do the business search. You couldn't do business search online then. You will fill the form for business search and take it to CAC office. So he went there to go and do it while we were at the program. He said, what's the name of the company? I said, the Olusola company. I said, fantastic. Meanwhile, I had a business card, but I did not have a company. My picture of my head was inside the map of Africa. That was my vision. I wanted to secure Africa. I didn't know how. So I had a business card. So they're like, oh, your company. So I said, processing, sir. I said, okay, stay on this side. Now they came again. If you don't have international passports, move to this side. People move to this side. When they got to me, do you have an international passport? I said, processing, sir. They left me here. And my goal was that I was going to get the passport that day. And I'll tell you how I got it. Then they moved there and said, bank accounts. If you don't have a bank account, the bank account for your company is so important. How do you tell how much you'll be making? If you have a bank account, move to this side. Some people still go to this side. They send them out. When they got to me, bank account, I said, my name is the name of my company. So my bank account is my company account. Yes. Since Olusola Amusan is the name of the company and the name on the bank account is Olusola Amusan, that's my bank account. That's how I passed the pre-qualification. Then I went upstairs to the interview room. Don't forget I was number 10 on the list. I did not even plan. My own nomination, I did not even plan. So I got there, got upstairs, and then I met Dr. Olusola interviewing. I met my colleague Bernard, and they were asking me, okay, what's the company about? Started telling them what the company is about. In the past year, I made ₦1 million publishing my book, selling my books, speaking at conferences. So I make training products. And I started, anyways, what are you wearing? Oh, I'm wearing a Prada jacket, a Boss shoe, khaki pants. I had a personality, right? Even though later the image consultant that they hired told me that that's not Prada. Some of them I said 15,000. That's not. That's definitely not Prada. So that's how my entrepreneurship journey started. Don't forget I was still on campus and I knew I was going to be an entrepreneur. But I had people who were saying to my ears and saying, you would need a work experience in some way. I was against it. When I speak at conferences, I tell people, you don't need work experience. You actually don't need to work anywhere. But ultimately, by the time I was working with a professor, I applied to Oracle, Microsoft, Google, a number of places because of my technology, passion for technology, and I eventually got a role at Microsoft. And that role changed my life. So it was at that role, I want to take it to there's no better time moment now. So at that role changed my life, changed my family dynamics, the money I was earning, my parents, everybody was happy. It was a life-changing thing. Traveled the world, got opportunities to go to different countries. I joined the World Economic Forum, Global Shapers, all of that. But there's no better time moment happened when I went to Denmark in 2017. It was a program called Unleash Labs. So at Unleash, they gathered 1,000 people from all over the world. Phenomenal program. I've not really seen a program at that scale, even recently, because when you fly people, you actually sponsor 1,000 people, that's a lot of money. So fly to Denmark, accommodate them, do all of that over a 1-week period or so. And that was the first time I felt very unimportant, insignificant. In Nigeria, when I walk into a room and I say I work with Microsoft, people are like, everybody wants to be like you. People are excited. Then, I don't know. It might not be like that now, but I'm just trying to say that. Because, of course, there are many other companies now. Even if you work in PiggyVest or you work in Vesti, someone can look at you and say, So, but then, I had interviews, TV interviews. I was like a celebrity of some sort, a mini celebrity of some sort. But getting to Denmark and realizing that there were maybe 50 other people from Microsoft, from Google, people doing work that was meaningful for their lives, somebody maybe transforming coffee and making chocolate. I was in that program and I looked at myself and said, this is not what I want to do with my late 20s. There's no better time. And it was from that program I started thinking about leaving Microsoft. I've been promoted 3 times, I won awards, so now that it's a place I could stay and become a GM. Do you get what I mean? Maybe a young GM within 10 years. But it was clear that there was something more. And that was when I started thinking. So 2018, I went to America, for something, and then I decided that I was going to stay. So I was going to stay back. Some Vesti people have not heard this story before. I'm going to stay back. But that's not how we stay back at Vesti, right? We don't just stay back, right? We do legal migration. I said, no, I'm going to stay back. So I rented the house, 6 months. 6-month lease, put my wife and my kids there, and said, you know what, we're just going to stay. No matter what, we'll figure it out. And thankfully, I met mentors who told me, this is not how to stay. This is not how to stay. You got to go back and go plan what you're going to do, how you're going to get a legal status, not a visiting visa, how you're going to get a work permit. Because you're somebody with vision, with ambition. You guys run great businesses. You can't travel to anywhere just on tourist visa because of the hardship in Nigeria, because the business is not going the way you had expected, and so that's where I heard about the O1 business license for the first time. That's why I heard about the EB2NIW for the first time. So I came back to Nigeria 2018, started, and I looked at multiple paths, which is a paradigm we teach at Vesti today. If you're trying to move to a new country, don't take one path. Take multiple paths. Think about these 3 most surest paths if you want to move within a 1-year period. So I picked education, I picked the O1 visa, and then I picked another express entry program in Canada, because all I just cared about was to move to a place with social security. I want to do something more. At Microsoft, I was earning 1/5 of the salary that my colleagues who are in other parts of the world were earning, doing the same job, the exact same job title. Exact same job title. Potential just changes. The same coffee we're selling here today, we take it out of the country, Starbucks, we brand it with our own happy coffee. It's different. The cost is the same coffee, but now it's has moved to a new geography where the value the premium that is placed on it is more than what we place on it in Africa. So as I moved and transitioned through the O1 visa to the United States by the spring of 2019, which was sometimes around March. So around March of 2019, of course, February of 2019, an election was going on. And 2015, an election had happened that my wife and I were robbed at gunpoint. So we didn't want to stay in Nigeria by the next election. So we went to Ghana. So that was my last game. That if anything doesn't work, I'm going to Ghana. So we were in Ghana for that election. Guess what? As I was leaving, I was driving in Olusola all the way to the airport. If you speak Yoruba, there's this adage that says, Atakoro wonuado, kole momo ewobe. Like if you are a powerful, charmed man, and you can get into a small god, a tiny god, you're so powerful, you may not be able to take your family members inside. So the solution I was creating, which is to leave Nigeria so that I'm not robbed at gunpoint, was not enough to save everyone I loved, right? You will understand why we started Vesti now. So when I'm going to Ghana that night, my parents were robbed at gunpoint till morning. So and that was what I heard as I was going into the plane. That you think you're going, Abi? Don't worry. But all that was just a message to me to see what we need to fix in Nigeria. It's not about escaping. And that's why Vesti is not about escaping. It's about creating legal pathways and then bringing all that value to headquarters back home to transform what we have here as well. But why did Bill Gates migrate to Nigeria? Has Bill Gates migrated to Africa? Why does he have so much work going on in Africa? Do you get what I'm saying? So did Zuckerberg have to move to Nigeria for Facebook to be in Nigeria? Or for Meta or Instagram to be here? No. The Rockefeller Foundation works here. That is how we must think about our businesses and our enterprises. That whatever we have is for the world. It is to serve the world. For whatever it's worth. To be able to get the full expression of what it was created to be. So your chocolate company's true potential is when every person around the world of different colors and races taste it and feel the value. The true value of your furniture company is that you can actually go and transform a Nigerian company that is expanding to Tokyo, Japan, and wants to retain the aesthetics and furniture and nostalgia of home in Tokyo. That is the true value, that is the true potential of the company that you are building. That truly, if we are excellent in servicing multinationals, that we can take all of that value and go to Kenya and help a Kenyan multinational the same way we have helped a Nigerian multinational. Bill Gates, as rich as he is, he had to register Nigerian entities. He had to get Nigerian business licenses. He needs a visa to come to Nigeria. If he comes too often on a tourist visa, they would encourage him to get another visa that is not a tourist visa for him to be able to come here. So the issues of mobility has nothing to do with who you are, your size, your wealth, and all of that. Professor Olusola, yes, just a few days ago, in Noble Laureate, in what is an interesting turn of events, had his visa revoked. His tourist visa, because he had turned his green card a few years before, so he now has a tourist visa, and he couldn't go and appear because they had some questions to ask him about the visa, or he thinks that it's some of the things he has said about President Trump. So, but my point is, what we are building, we suddenly realize that what we are building has nothing to do with somebody trying to escape. It has to do with building the rails for mobility. And that's why our services go from not just doing visas for people. So actually opening bank accounts there, registering your company, helping you with tax information, helping you with insurance, building a trust, and so on and so forth. Some of my favorite customers at Vesti are not people that relocated. They are people who got the licenses to work and they go back and forth. to keep their businesses going. There are the people who, like me, move from earning 1/5 salary to earning 5 times the same salary just because I moved zip code. There are people who made the decision that despite the fact that no matter how it is when you are taking a turn in life, you have to slow down, saw that slowing down as a temporary setback for what they're still going to do in the future. So between 2019 and 2022, I was thinking about what would be next. And that's when Vesti came along. And we built Vesti. Now this is where the story gets interesting for those of you who are running a startup, whether it's in tech or not. From a small gathering, which is why these networking sessions are important. From a small gathering in Dallas, Texas, actually in Midlothian, Texas, that day, we were just having a group of immigrants come in and we're sharing drinks. And somebody asked me and said, do you know about Techstars? I'm like, oh yes, I've been applying to Y Combinator, which is an accelerator, but Techstars is not bad. I know Techstars. I was like, oh well, the MD of Techstars, I was his best man, and I can talk to him about you guys. And he said, oh, can you pitch your company? I pitched my company. So I'm going to do an intro for you tomorrow. I did an intro to a gentleman called KJ Singh. A few emails later, Texas offered us $120,000. We got an investment, an investment conversation going. We had been raising our pre-seed just before that, but it wasn't moving very fast. There were multiple times I would just actually cry, literally, tired and cry. Most people are not familiar with men crying. And I'll actually be like, how is this going to work? How is this going to work? How is this going to happen? Because we get these commitments, I'll put them on my Apple Notes or my notes on my iPhone, and I'll 5,000, 5,000, 10,000, 10,000, all these commitments, people were not transferring their money because I was trying to raise $500,000 at the time. So the commitment got to maybe $250,000. The time was going and you were spending the money before you even announced because the company has to be running, and all that was going on because in pre-seed, when people are sending you money, it's not something that you have to wait before you can raise progressively. But the moment that came on board like this, the raise skyrocketed, went to $630,000 and closed at about 3. That was oversubscribed. That's what we call it in the fundraising. It was an oversubscribed round. We announced it in the spring of 2022, and this was me moving from somebody who was just managing a meager 18 million salary, which wasn't meager in Nigeria. In fact, my country manager was disappointed that I resigned. How could you just be promoted and then you go ahead and resign? And that's why when I get paid with HR is looking at me. When I get paid with that invested too, I cannot cry because some people will be like, I just changed you this guy. And then HR will say the person is good. I was like, well, maybe they are paying me back in my own coin. But anyway, but in my case, I gave a 3 months notice. Spoken great about Microsoft ever since. Very close to still to the organization in many ways, and all of that. So, but again, we have dreams. So sometimes we want to go and pursue those dreams. So Vesti raised that amount of money in the pre-seed round. We went through the accelerator, like you were saying. I'm sorry because I'm referring to your name.
Happy Coffee.
Like Happy Coffee, and my company is me. Like Happy Coffee was saying, and that's really interesting because it turns out that everywhere, you get a chance to push your brand, and all that. Anyways, we get to that point. So, like she was saying, I paid attention to the program so much. I cared more about, the program itself, not just the money they were giving us. So we were going to be like rock stars in the program. We paid attention to it. Even though I had a family in Dallas and the program was in New York, I flew back and forth as many times as I could, attended multiple programs. It was hard building a company and going through the accelerator. You know how it is. Building the company, going through the accelerator, it was very hard. But then we went through it and we raised another about $750,000. And it just kept going, just kept going. So then we raised over $2.5 million. It's like, if we wanted to raise more money, we could have, even at the time. We had investors that we turned down and we said, no, we don't want as well at the time. The market is quite different now. But we could have raised more. But we focused on building the company so that our revenue will multiple times what we have even raised. And up to today, people don't know, but we don't even have up to 20% of the company with investors. People do a lot of people, are you kidding? It's not of just our doing, but it's because we focused on building a company as a company, not as a fundraising machine. The company is not a fundraising machine. It's not, what they call entrepreneurial as a service. That's what people are doing now, entrepreneurship as a service, fundraising as a service. Folks are just raising, they're not really like, but we focused on, okay, if we don't need this money, then we shouldn't take it. So that we can retain the energy and the soul of the company as much as possible. Especially in a space that people don't even think you should be building. Somebody wrote a book, and we have chapter 1 of that book is a South African lady. She just sent me a draft yesterday, and she said something I thought really resonated with me. She said, Olu and his team are building a company solving for a problem that many didn't even know exists. So a lot of people will be like, is it really a problem? But it's actually a problem. So when you are building in that kind of industry, you don't want people to change the soul of your company so quickly, because they will take 50% of your company. You have a board member, and when you have that board member, they start thinking, okay, why don't you do this? I'll give you a perfect example. We have two opportunities: to build a new bank for immigrants, or to build a migration fintech, where finance is basically embedded into migration, and the focus will be migration. We had that, and we struggled with it for at least 2 years. And we had investors who told us specifically, maybe you should just do fintech and just build a new bank, because there's money. Transactions, you can see what Kuda is doing, what Money Point is doing, what Flutterwave is doing, what Paystack is doing. Why don't you just be the new bank for immigrants? They make examples like New Bank, that become a $1 billion bank, Time Bank, all of these guys in South Africa. Why don't you be that? And when we saw that there was an opportunity there, we saw that the bigger opportunity, when you think in terms of decades, is to first of all build the rails that will make migration possible. If you try to be a new bank for immigrants on that side, the cost of acquisition is high, profitability is a mirage, you are going to raise hundreds of millions of dollars trying to fight with Bank of America. Because why should an immigrant that just arrived in America choose you as an immigrant bank? Maybe there is, the whole idea that they know you from home, they can take bigger risk on you. That is great. But we figured that we needed a new generation of empowered, knowledgeable immigrants that were even empowered enough to be able to make the decision between Chase Bank, Bank of America, and Lemfi. So our work for the next couple of years will be to educate, migrate talents from all over the world who are a special breed of talents, who care about transforming value in the country they are going to, and also bringing that value back home to headquarters. And maybe as we embed our finance, we have over 10,000 debit cards with customers today. So our fintech business is there. We basically build AI now that simplifies the process of migration. So you can answer a few questions and it will tell you the countries that you should really go to. I think what is really revolutionary about our product is the fact that when people go to agents, they tell the agents where they want to go or what they want to do. The agent doesn't have an option. He decides to do it, then it doesn't work for them. But in our own case, we don't take your money until we do an eligibility test. When you do an eligibility test, we're really showing you the country that wants you, not the country you are trying to go to. By showing you the country that wants you, this is another Buddha Day moment, right? Like, we're discovering, because the natural thing is to say, I want to move abroad. But we are saying, no, hold on, slow down. You're going to waste a lot of money, you're going to get disappointed, and it's going to be hard when you get to that country. Why don't you go to the country that wants you? So when you do the eligibility test as Happy Coffee, we are going to show you the countries that you, based on your talent and the questions you have answered, country that appreciates it. If you are someone now who basically just wants to live a simple life, you're not trying to be a billion-dollar company, you're trying to just make sure you can serve people, you're better off going to Europe. It's quieter, it's simple, there's no pressure, there's social security. You're not trying, but if you're trying to grow something really fast like wildfire, you can't escape America. There's capital, there's energy, there is a lot of grass to grace stories, and so on and so forth. If there's someone that is trying to escape from everything you've ever known, you want to go to Australia. So that you even come back home is stress. So we've looked at it that way. If you're somebody who hates the incumbent, you don't like people who always have been ruling for 300 years. You don't like people who always boast as world power. You hate America's guts just because they're arrogant and all of that. Then go to China because there's energy, there's capital, except that they're going to be the rulers of the next world. So this is how we design our programs at Vesti. That's how we designed our app. I have one of our senior mobile engineers there. Please give it up for Adewale. And these guys work day and night to make sure he has seen the evolution of the mobile app. as one of the earliest mobile app developers. It's been downloaded over 1 million times. So it shows that there are really people who want this service, who want to see, what we're doing, who are clear that this is truly a problem. And for those who don't see it, every now and then with events and networking sessions like this, we end up going ahead to do that. In 2022, we won the award of the 6 Stars Migration Prize in Entrepreneurship, and there are other recognitions as well that we have gotten from AWS, from Google, from other. We got the AI $200,000 AI grant in cloud credits from Google last year to be able to build Maya, our AI platform. We hosted the Future Awards nominee reception and became their lead sponsor for last year's awards. And there's been a lot of collaboration. And this year, like you just heard, we launched Prosper, which is basically the concept of Prosper, for those who didn't come, is that you're not trying to move abroad just for moving abroad. You're not trying to start a business abroad just for starting a business. You're trying to open doors of prosperity. That's what you're trying to do. So Prosper actually started from a conference that you hold in America. That's why when my friend came to my house yesterday and was asking me, "Oh, that's that conference you wanted to do in America." I said, "It's Prosper." I said, "Really?" So Prosper was supposed to start in America. Basically, the idea is that we'll do a party of a lifetime, which is one party that you come to, and we don't want to see you next year. So you start your migration journey, and when you get to America, you come to Prosper. And sometimes this year we change the philosophy and said, why don't we introduce Prosper from the source country? And then you attend your first Prosper in the source country and attend your second Prosper in the destination country. And then the cycle keeps going like that, like that, like that. So, what other thing do I want to remember to share that is really important? The importance of accessing global communities. There are lots of things that you can do. I don't know anyone here who knows about Eisenhower Fellowship, who knows about the Crans-Montana Future Leaders Fellowship. There is the United Nations CSW community. I used to remember all those communities offered. There's Ashoka Fellowship, which is basically the world leading organization of social entrepreneurs. There's the Young Global Leaders, YGL, of the World Economic Forum. Because you have a foundation as TEF entrepreneurs, I strongly believe that you have an edge to be part of these other communities, like Unleash, like IVE. All these communities give you a huge leverage in life and with your work. Easily you can arrive in any city in the world and text and say, who from this community lives here? And your life changes. You're different from a stranger. From day one, you are making things happen. So, for example, if I arrive in China tomorrow, Shenzhen, or anywhere, I can text and say, who are the global shapers of the Shenzhen? Or most of us here will be already past age for global shapers. So, just example, it's 27 and under. But for, and you never can tell, there could be people younger than 27 years. But for the YGL, the Young Global Leaders, more tighter community, for folks that are just a little bit under 40. There is the Queen's Young Leader. I don't know whether now with the Queen's, with the Queen not being there, now the King, I don't know whether they turned into the King's Young Leaders or they're still doing it, but the Queen used to confer this honor on young people who are doing remarkable work, and then that community is also important. I also believe in communities that come from universities that you attend. So let's say, for example, you take a quick course at Harvard, or a quick course in Oxford, or a quick course in Stanford Seed in Ghana, or you take a program in ALU in South Africa, or you come to Curators University, which is a new generation university we're just building. Whatever place you go to that is an Ivy League school or highly reputable school, there are communities from there. And those communities can be very, very life-changing. Like the example I gave you, this guy who said he was best man to KJ Singh also attended the same MBA in Colombia with him, with the MD of Textiles. So imagine doing an MBA with somebody for a whole year, then becoming one of their groomsmen at their wedding. If you make a recommendation to that person, they'll most likely take it seriously, right? So take community seriously like you already are. But I want to say that if you have not been applying to fellowships, or you got tired after you did TEF and you're like, oh, I don't want to do all this anymore, please continue to do it. There's Arambi Fellowship. Apply. If you have applied, apply again. If you have applied, apply again and again. And you'll be surprised. You're going to meet me somewhere, maybe at the airport, and you'll be like, you said I should apply again. I'm an Arambi Fellowship. Or I'm going to just see them announcing you. They're going to announce you, and then they're going to be like, oh my God, you sent me a note. So don't give up. Now, all these fellowships, all these awards, all these recognitions that people pass by, you know, let's say there's future awards and you're still qualified, or there is a what's the Trends Up award and you're still qualified for young people, or there's an industry award or business day writes you and say, want to give this recognition. I don't want this kind of people, Jerry. The thing is, every time you sweep it away, you're sweeping potential credibility, you're sweeping away potential recognition for something else in the future that will require that. And that's why you now see, do you know how painful it is for people that you feel that they don't have substance? And you see them doing stuff and you be like, why can't they recognize? It's because you passed away many of the things, places you are supposed to volunteer, committees you are supposed to join, and so on and so forth. Now, if you ever need the global talent visa to the UK to expand your business to the UK, if you ever now need the O1 visa to expand your business to the US, if you ever now need the EB1 green card to be able to get some level of investment from America, you will need all of those things. So start working on them now. Start dusting them off. There's this award they give you, but they didn't give you the certificate. There's this plaque you got, but you didn't get a letter. There's this competition you were a judge at, but they didn't send you a thank you note. There's this speaking engagement you had, but it was by WhatsApp that they invited you. There is this, you need to go back to all of those, whether you need it or not, to reach out to them and say, this is a template. I want you to send me this note, I need it. I always document all my recognitions. There's nothing wrong with it. That's the least they can do. They didn't pay you. Even if they paid you, you could have still decided not to come. You honor them with your time and attention, and they should honor you with that. If they give you a plaque is not presentable to any organization that's trying to vet you, because anybody can go and make a plaque. But a letter with a signature on a letterhead is going to do a lot of work. So go back and get all of those documentations because they're going to take the company. It could be ISO that you want to do. It could be ISO, one of the certifications that you want to do for your factory. It could be that they're trying to select the factory of the year. And they check every other thing. Every other thing. This chocolate factory and that chocolate factory, everything matches. But the CEO of one is shoulder higher than the other in societal accomplishments and in what they have done. Why do I need a doctorate? Why? If Tayo, our finance minister, succeeds at raising the next round, I'm going to be a millionaire. So why do I need a doctorate? That Tayo, you have to succeed in raising that round. So why do I need a doctorate? Because I feel like my highest ideals are to be achieved. I have to highest what I consider my highest ideals. And the last bus stop for formal education is a doctor of philosophy. So in the same way, like don't look at it and say, oh, we are good. Dream more, be hungry, and continue to drive yourself. So my goal today was to talk about funding, global opportunities, the Vesti story. Maybe I will end it with this, for those who are writing or taking notes in their hearts. Some of the quick ways that you can get your funding done if you have never really done a formal fundraising round. And it doesn't matter whether you are a tech startup or not. I've seen the angel investors that invested in me investing in more traditional businesses by the day because they feel that they are part of the real economy. You know when you say the real economy, furniture. Like, can we stop using furniture? Can AI make us ever stop using furniture? I don't think so. I think not. I think for some reason, because the material world is still going to be like this for a long time. And me saying for a long time is part of my personal skepticism that anything can change. Otherwise, I would have said it will never change. But it would be foolish to say something will never change. So we can simply say for a long time, we're still going to need furniture. Right? So some of the investors that helped and that I can do introductions to include Midlothian angels. Midlothian, they are now called Midlo angels. They are a group of angel investors. They write anywhere between $20,000 to $150,000 in checks. Midlo, M-I-D-L-O, Midlo angels. It's an angel network, so it means they put money together as an angel. Their process is very simple. You submit their intake form. If they see that your company is great, or maybe somebody introduced you, they will invite you to a pitch. When you do that pitch, they will decide whether they're going to put you in a deal flow. If they like the company, they'll put you in a deal flow. When they do the deal flow, and the person that introduced you, somebody that introduced you may have raised maybe money from them. Doesn't mean you can't raise more than that person. Because it's just the time, and whether the angels have the resources, or whether they feel that company. So the angels will put money together. Usually, Middleton Indians will invest in you at the time when you're already post revenue. So that's why I like most of your companies, because you've been existing for some time, you have revenue. So they like post revenue companies that have financials that can show. But they also they bet in tech companies as well, who maybe are stable. They don't like idea stage and all of that. They really prefer if your business is already running or your tech startup is already working. So check them out. Definitely accelerators are important, so don't take them for granted. Your business can still go through an accelerator even at this stage that you are. That's the truth. Especially if you feel like you have never raised money at, let's say, a valuation that is higher than $3 million. It means that at the company still like 4.5 billion in valuation, you can go through an accelerator. They will usually take between 6 to 8%, and they will give you anywhere between $220,000 and $500,000, which in Nigerian money today is quite a lot of money. So, but it's a good opportunity, more importantly, to learn the ways to fundraise, because most of these accelerators will also help you to raise anywhere between $1 to $3 billion before you leave the accelerator. So what they are giving you is just the entry amount. What you are leaving there with is what you give into the accelerator itself. You know, for our own set, we were one of the people that raised maybe the highest during the accelerator and as a result of the accelerator. So maybe about $1 million at the time, you know, which was a time where a number of folks couldn't raise anymore because we're already getting to the fundraising winter of 2022. That's Blue Angels, Techstars, Y Combinator. Y Combinator now gives 500K. Techstars now gives 220K, unlike when they were giving 120K during our own time. There's 500 startups. 500 startups also really invest in companies. And there is the A16Z accelerator. Anderson Horowitz basically shortened as A16Z. These guys have an AI accelerator right now. Maybe you want to show like how AI impacts your business. Let's leave accelerators. There are funds like Resilience 17, which is basically owned by the founder of Flutterwave. You know, that's what we're talking about, right? You didn't have to move to America to be able to build Flutterwave in America. But you have to register a business in America, perhaps get a business license, because if it's going with the B1, B2, they will start stressing it. So perhaps maybe he has a special visa as well to be able to go back and forth, especially if it has to stay longer than normal. So Resilience 17 is a fund that invests anywhere between 25K to 100K. They now invest through their studio, through their venture studio, which is the Resilience 17 AI called what's the name now? They have a name for it. Apart from Go Time Accelerator. Go Time. So that's what you find online. So they invest through the accelerator mainly now, but they still do some deals outside, you know, and they invested twice. You know, so it's an organization I know and that I can make an intro if you're working on something that has to do with AI. There's also Microtraction. Microtraction is investing out of their second fund. I believe it's a $10 million fund, Microtraction. They're investing through fund 2, and I think they're raising their third fund already. They also invested in us in the early stage as well. There is Adiaka. Adiaka, early investors in Facebook and Twitter. They invested in Flutterwave as well. They also invested in us. They're based out of Vegas, I believe. And there's a lot of them like that. There's I can find a way to share my early stage investor lists of outreach to Philip, and I can share with you guys if you're interested, because there's just so many of them. And then if you find anyone and be like, I like this one because you researched them, you can ask me to do an intro. It's better off to do an intro to the ones that actually invested in me or wrote us a check, but there's nothing bad in introducing to those who did invest in us as well. Because the one that invests in you are the ones who can really say they are investing. You know, some investors will tell you, we're sorry, we have to pass, but you won't know it's them that don't have money. You think they're the one that is not good enough. You know, maybe the money they're expecting has not come. You know, founders, we have to give ourselves some credit. We're the ones in the arena, doing the work, working hard, doing everything. And sometimes people just think because they want to give you money, they are better than you. You know, some of them came into money through means that are not even as noble. When I say sometimes we're not, sometimes we're like, well, nobody cares, they have the money. But we should care, because there's dignity in labor. Yeah. If somebody maybe did stock or did crypto or which is not bad, it's also work, it's skill. But they got that money and then they want to tell you about operational efficiency. They want to tell you, this guy made all his money in his pajamas. They want to tell you about discipline and operational efficiency and going through a crisis. He hasn't gone through any of those crises. So we mustn't always assume that every money is money that has gone through, the test of time. We're grateful that they're able to give us the fuel. It's like rocket fuel. Fundraising is like rocket fuel. It's not the core of the business. The rocket itself has to be working. Fundraising is basically pushing it up, and that's why it burns. Fundraising burns. If you don't, there's no money that you raise that will not finish. There's no money. I can tell you for a fact. This time of year, he knows. Tayo, is there any money you raise that will not finish? It is money you are making, recurring revenue, that cannot finish. It's booming that cannot finish. We will not finish in Jesus' name. It's our sales lead. It is money you make through revenue. That's the money that cannot finish. And of course, you still have to manage it well. But it's your customers, how you are treating them, how you're, that's what will not finish. Well, I'm going to end it there. I hope I've been able to offer something valuable beyond just attention to prosper. Because I always tell people, you can't do a conference and just think a conference is not a one-day conversation. You have to keep the energy going. I told my team they need to keep posting about the conference, the value from it, the feedback, up to the end of November. Like, it's not normal, right? Our registration for 2026 is already open with early bird tickets, and I'm sure Adiza can still work out something for TEF entrepreneurs and give you guys a code. If you want, please, I'm really not marketing. Like, Philip and I agreed that this session should be about value. So I'm not even here to market or anything. But if you think for some reason it's a conversation you want to be part of next year, we're going to create a TEF code that would even reduce it from the current early bird discount so that you can register for it. All right? Yeah. Thank you
My name is Adedayo once again. I'm the founder of Double One Stop Technology Hub, and we are into solar solutions. And I'm going to start from where you stopped, where you mentioned that you can actually do an intro for people for accelerators program. We are in this accelerator program at this moment. Sahara Group, Sahara Impact Fund, Impact Fund.
Sahara Group, right?
Yes.
I love that.
So I've gotten to the due diligence, that which is the final stage. So start the boot camp. So they actually asked for this intro. So, so I'm asking if you can do an intro for my company.
That's for Sahara, right?
Yes.
I would ask one or two persons. I don't have a direct relationship with Sahara, but I'm certain that when we ask, we're going to find Philip. Let's make sure it happens with Sahara.
So, and the deadline is tomorrow.
Oh yeah, we have to do it today. We'll
Yes.
look for it today.
Okay,
We have to
thank
find somebody that knows somebody. I'll post in my groups now and say, do we know somebody in Sahara? I did an intro.
Yeah, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Then my question, I've been trying to do this fundraising for a while now, and I can relate with Happy Coffee's story when she said some investors are trying to take a whole lot of chunk from the business. In fact, recently I was embarrassed where some group of 5 investors wanted to offer 25 million naira for 60% of the business. They want to take 12% each. So I want to ask, is it possible for you to just briefly explain how we can go about this equity? Because you said you have raised all this fund and you have not given more than 20%.
Yeah, the investors
Wow.
don't like it very much.
Yeah. So I'm actually curious, how are you able to do that, and just give us a brief intro into that.